Just trying to see like which one gets the most interaction through the phone or through the laptop. So I'm just trying to use my phone and shit. But the NBA is back. And I'm excited. It's going to be some more content and things of that nature. But we're here to talk Sixers and Knicks. I know people going to ask, who gives a fuck about the preseason? Me. I give a fuck about the preseason. Me, that's who. I want to see some ball. I want to see how these teams work together and things of that nature. But instead of the old box scores with the shorts, I'm only going to do those videos for the, games that I actually watched. And then I'm going to just go live. I think that's just the best way to do it from now on. Less work for me. Half the workload's gone. Then I could just go live and talk about the games and stuff like that by the box scores and the highlights and things of that nature. So let's talk this Sixers and Knicks game. I watched it earlier. It came on at about 12 because they were in Abu Dhabi. A lot of interesting things happened in this game. So let's read the box scores and then we'll get to what I thought. So we had VJ Edgecombe making his presence felt in his first game, official game. He had 14 points and 6 rebounds, 4-13 shooting, 1 of 6 from 3. He was aggressive. That's one thing I can say. Kelly Oubre had 8 points. Tyrese Maxey had 14 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 5 of 12 from the field. Adem Bona had 4 points. Dominic Barlow had 6 points and 10 rebounds. I've seen Dominic Barlow before. He used to play for the Spurs. Kennedy Chandler had 10 points off the bench. Wow. Yeah, I remember Kennedy Chandler. He was in, what was that? He was in the draft about 3 years ago. I think he was a second round pick of the Memphis Grizzlies. I didn't realize that was him. And then there was this guy, number 33. That was Jabari Walker that was scoring a lot. And he came off the bench. I noticed he was putting in work. I noticed he was scoring a lot. So Kennedy Chandler had 10 points, 2 steals. Hunter Salas had 8 points. Jabari Walker had 9 points. All right. Let's look at the Knicks side. Hey, man, Deuce McBride was balling. That was one of the first things that I noticed. He had 12 points, 5 of 7 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3. Karl Anthony Towns had 11 points. Mikal Bridges had 10 points. And Mitchell Robinson had 7 points and 16 rebounds. 16 rebounds in a preseason game is insane. Garrison Matthews was another highlight, 9 points. Jalen Brunson had 6 points on 2 of 8 shooting. Rough day. I don't know how to pronounce this dude's name, but I know his first name is Pacomi. I forgot. Because I heard it on the broadcast, and I was just trying because I thought it was pronounced Digit. But I don't think that's how you pronounce that man's name. But he didn't do shit anyway. But missed a lot of shots. He was 1 of 6, 0 for 5. But my overall thoughts of the game, early on, the Sixers seemed to be keeping up with the New York Knicks. And they were going back and forth. And Tyrese Maxey was really like playing the point guard position like in the first half. He was really dishing the rock. A lot more than he usually does. But Maxey's still crafty, still nice as fuck. But it seemed like, of course, it's the first game, so everybody a little off and a little rusty. But Josh Hart went down with an injury. At first, when I saw that injury, I really thought it was like I thought he tore his Achilles or his ACL by the way that he moved and the way that his lower leg moved, but it turns out it's a back injury. So I was wrong about that. I mean, I know the Knicks could win without Hart, but they can't win a championship without Josh Hart. But I don't think that injury is serious. I think he'll miss the rest of the preseason maximum. But the Sixers, one thing about the Sixers, what they have a lot of depth at the five. You know, you got Adem Bona, you got Janai Broom, you got Andre Drummond. So, in case something like an Embiid injury happens, you know, you can play those three guys. That's 18 fouls right there. And if you're talking about in fives, then that's 15 fouls. So, the Sixers kind of like have an idea of an identity without George and Embiid. Honestly, they need to trade those two. I know it's a very difficult thing to do because these guys are both on bad contracts. They're both injury prone. One would rather do a podcast. The other one just has completely bad luck. Like, doctors said that they don't know if Joel Embiid is ever going to play a full season again. They said the same thing about PG, you know, because I was recording my next episode of my podcast, King Known Uncensored, for those that don't know. I was recording that, and I said they should do a trade with the Charlotte Hornets because Charlotte Hornets is a fucking injury-prone factory over there. Everybody over there got to have missed 40 to 50 games, like LaMelo, like Brandon Miller. Those main guys, they miss time. Fuck it. Why not throw away the contract? Joel Embiid's making $55 million a year. This shit is ridiculous. You know, I think I proposed some sort of a trade sounding like Joel Embiid to the Hornets for Miles Bridges, DeQuan Jeffries, T. John Saloon, and Colin Sexton, I believe it was. And those guys could move over to Philly and be more key parts of that rotation. Obviously, maybe Saloon and Jeffries might get cut, and they keep the other two guys as rotational pieces, you know, for Philly. They'll get rid of that contract. And then I suggested maybe a Paul George for Lauri Markkanen swap. They make around the same amount of money. And if they want to throw a pick for taking a bad contract, fuck it. I'll give you 2 picks. Just get it away from me. Get this shit away from me. You know what I mean? I think that they should have been did this. And them signing Paul George to 4 years and 200 and something million was ridiculous. The Embiid contract and extension was insane. They was better off letting Embiid walk. Because Philly's just never been able to just be healthy. It's always something going wrong with them. But I do understand that this is one game. This is a preseason game at that. But I did notice some things. I like Adem Bona, Johnny Broom, obviously Maxey and Edgecombe. Edgecombe, the rookie, he's going to be a key piece early on. And then they just got back Quentin Grimes as well. He signed a qualifying offer. So he's going to be pivotal in their rotation as well with the loss of Paul George. You know, Edgecombe, thing I like about him, he reminds me of 2 guys. Reminds me of Ben Gordon and Victor Oladipo, like prime Oladipo, like in Indiana, when he was dunking on everybody and shooting the 3. He had the complete. He was complete on both sides of the ball. He's got some defense too. But Oladipo was my player comparison. He's got that potential to be that player that Oladipo was supposed to be in Indiana, but obviously he got cut short due to injuries. That's one thing I did notice. Another thing was obviously New York's the better team. New York has owned Philly over the last couple of years. Philly has just never been able to overcome the Knicks. It seemed like it was always something that was holding them back from beating New York, whether it be injuries or just the inability to close out a series. And then, New York was without OG Anunoby. You know what I'm saying? Anunoby didn't play. We see New York's chemistry, and I think that they have a very good chance of coming out the East. Them and Cleveland, I think, are the two best teams in the East. But New York, and then Mike Brown. I like that Mike Brown still has the New York Knicks in a defense first mentality because he's a defense first coach. But the difference between Mike Brown and Tom Thibodeau is simple. I think Tibbs, had a bad reputation for him, you know, playing his players too many minutes. And I think Mike Brown is much better at managing the players' minutes. I think Mike Brown is just a better coach overall than Tibbs because obviously Brown has won championships as an assistant coach and has taken and coached the team to the NBA Finals. Meanwhile, Tibbs was an assistant coach on the championship team, just like Mike Brown. And I think the edge comes when Mike Brown took that Cavaliers team to the finals. I think that's what separates them a little bit. And that's no disrespect to Tibbs. I just think that Tibbs has a slave driver's mentality when it comes down to overworking his players. But the fucked up part about this shit is Knicks still got to pay that nigga $30 million over the next few years. That's a lot of money. They just gave him a contract extension the year before. So that's got to sting if you're the Knicks. Still be paying Tom Thibodeau all that money. But I think Mike Brown keeping them defensively locked in because there's a lot of defensive plays that the Knicks were making in this game. There's a lot of steals. There's a lot of block shots. Yeah, a lot of the guys came in there and were making defensive stops and defensive plays. And Philly, in general, didn't necessarily shoot well. That was due to that Knicks defense. So they're still the same team with the same mentality, but I think that Mike Brown will be able to manage their minutes well. Nick Nurse has got a difficult task here. And then the GM of the Sixers, isn't Daryl Morey still their GM? Let me find out. Damn, I can't even spell tonight. Okay, so basically Elton Brand is still here as the general manager, and Daryl Morey is still running shit as far as the president of basketball operations. So Brand and Morey are working together here. Yeah, man, they fucked up bad with these signings of George and Embiid. I see what they were trying to go for, but you got to look at the history of both of these guys. They haven't. When's the last time that Paul George or Joel Embiid played more than 60 games? Let's find out. Paul George is not in Indiana Paul George anymore. Paul George actually played 74 games in 2024. But before that, 56, 31, 54, 48. And then last year, he only played 41 games. That's kind of alarming. And I don't think Elton Brand and Daryl Morey looked into this. They just thought that they were getting like a superstar. They thought they were going to get Paul George from Indiana, but they didn't. That's crazy that Embiid played only 19 games last year. That's got to really suck. Then you had 39, 66, 68. That was in 2022. So 39 and 19, like 58 games in 2 seasons. That's an average of 29 games in 2 seasons. And you gave him a contract extension. Yikes. Well, I will look at the box score of the Pelicans game, but I'll just check out the highlights because they're playing an overseas team. They should whoop their ass. If the Pelicans lose that game, their season, I don't know. It's not going to look too good on them if they lost to that team. I think they're playing an NBL team tomorrow. But that Lakers game, though, I'll definitely be back for that. I'll be back live tomorrow for that because I'm definitely going to watch that game and do another live. Yep, Melbourne United is who they play at 5:30 a.m. I'm not waking up at no fucking 5:30. But however, Suns and Lakers, I'm going to check that out. I heard your king got an ass injury. No diddy. But he was on Kai Cenat having so much fun. You see that guy jump in the air like a cheerleader and bring it on when he saw LeBron? I know that. I've seen that guy's takes on LeBron. He's a sexual for sure. That shit was wild. So I don't think Bron gonna play. Luka definitely gonna play. Luka played last preseason. I'd be shocked if he missed out. I definitely want to see Devin Booker with Jalen Green. I want to see what they can do. And I want to see Kaman Maluwach. I want to watch him. I want to see what he got. But yeah, I'm going to get up out of here. This is King No NBA Music Talk. Talking that first preseason game. And I'm out. Oh, what the fuck am I moving this for?